Welcome back to whoever's listening.
Usually you do this, not me.
I know. I'm waiting for you to look at the camera just one time.
I was
oh,
already.
there we go. He's looking at the camera. Welcome back to Mental Recovery, a podcast about mental health, brought to you by men, for men, whatever men, women.
Whoa, man.
Whoa, man.
Well, man.
Whoa. Also, there's a person behind us. His name is Mikey. Say hi, Mikey.
Hello.
He doesn't have a headset or mic, so he will not be speaking. He will hear us, and that is about it.
He's going to be strictly a spectator today.
And if he has anything to add, he will chime in, and we'll try to move a mic over again.
But probably not.
Somewhere in here.
Probably not.
We'll see how it goes.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
He says probably not. If he starts crying,
If he starts crying, we know it's a good episode.
we know we're helping.
Shut up, Mikey!
We're kidding. He's our first viewer, live viewer.
Yep, live view. And you guys can do it too once we get the Twitch going. Eventually, when that happens.
Oh, we are doing that.
Why wouldn't we?
I have to make another thing now.
I had a list.
I know.
I have the
All right,
whole
we're
socials
good. We're
list.
It's been a
good.
good amount of time here, and I thought they'd be done by now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what I thought. My bad. Sorry.
I'm wondering if he's going to look at the camera anytime soon.
I'm not. I'm going to look down like you do the whole time. And
Just
stare
look
out into
directly
space.
into the lights.
Yeah. Oh, that was a bad idea. Why'd you
It
tell me to do
was.
that?
Just I
Now
just
I
want
look
to say,
like I
everybody.
have predator vision.
I just want to say, everybody. I do care about you. I just forget to look at the camera. That's all it is.
And he looks like a pervert when he's doing it like this. It's like, hello there.
I'm very tall. I have to crouch really far down. Okay.
We don't have booms yet.
He's
We'll
over
get it.
6 foot, just so you know.
If I look at the camera,
He's
facing
also
straight up, I
not
look like
single, so sorry, ladies and some men.
this. I am single for men.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay.
Anyways, welcome back. You know how the intro goes, normally crazy. Today's podcast is going to be a little deep, a little dark, a little sad, I guess will be the best word for this.
A little introspective for some.
Yeah.
And I think all of us have a little bit of put in on this subject. Maybe not so much me, but I know you guys do.
Yeah.
So,
Very much so.
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been fortunate enough to go through what they have, or unfortunate
Yeah, I was
enough.
gonna say, I don't
I
think you
wanna
want to
say
say
fortunate.
fortunate
Yeah, I
there.
wanna-
English hard. Okay.
How we started is
Reverse
fortunate.
math is hard.
Like how it's made is fortunate,
yes.
but
The
after
process
that,
going
yeah,
is
yeah.
fortunate. It's just that point that we're going to
Yeah.
get to,
Yeah, the
which you guys
aftermath
will know
isn't-
what the hell we're talking about in a second here.
Yeah, the aftermath not so much.
Yeah. So with that being said, trigger warning, just a heads up. But we are going to be talking about miscarriage, abortions, but I don't think any of us really have that much on that one.
I don't think I have anything on that.
Like we have friends, but it's not coming
Yeah.
from a personal
Actually,
standpoint on
Think
that.
about it now. I do have one on abortions, but it wasn't about me. I was helping a friend
Okay, I
out.
was about to say, how do you forget that? But okay, never mind. We're good.
It was. We'll get into it.
But yes, we'll be talking
Okay.
about miscarriage. We'll be talking about abortion. We'll be talking about even just the length up to when it actually that situation occurs, and just the effects that it has on everybody, and at least us and our perspective.
Yeah.
So, since I think you have the most, well, I don't want to say the most.
Since
Most
you have the
recent.
most recent, I was
Yeah.
going to say
Yeah.
that too.
Since you have the most recent one, why don't you go ahead and start it off?
And again, we're
Justin.
going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just a heads up. It's going to get dark. It's going to get personal.
Yeah.
But this is about the recovery process of it, so we
This
just
is
wanna
your
bring it
warning.
up.
if I have the freedom here, I might talk about when it happened and also how it's affecting me even now with just my current situation.
I mean, I thought that was the point.
I mean, I think that's what I'm going to talk about anyway.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead.
saying it out loud, I guess.
Go for it.
Just speaking truth to fact. I don't know what the saying is. But at least with my very recent experience of this is around, I want to say it was beginning of April. I had found out that my girlfriend and I she was pregnant. A lot of people like to say we're pregnant, and she's the one who had to deal with all the physical stuff. So I was going through that. I had become the sole income because she is a high-risk pregnancy, so we knew miscarriage was we knew it was a possibility. Now, my experience of it was, I think what a lot of people have, at least in this form of situation, where she had years to know this was a possibility. She already has one son who's 9 years old, my stepson. At least, I don't even want to say stepson, he's my son. I will always treat him as if he's my own.
It's always a good point in life when you can actually say that. Like, he's no longer my stepson. He is my son.
Yeah, and I will always treat him that way. I'm never going to treat him as a stepson. I was treated as a stepson. He isn't my son, and I will always treat him as if he's my own. So she had years before her and I were even together to know that miscarriage was a possibility. She knew getting pregnant was a hard thing for her to do anyway. So we weren't exactly trying, but we weren't not trying, if that makes sense to everybody. And while she had all these years to prep for it, I did not. And I think I had a idea in my head at the time that I think is very common to a lot of people, where it won't happen to me kind of perspective, where, yeah, it's a possibility, but it won't happen to me. Yeah, it's a possibility, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. This one's going to turn out fine. So I never really prepped for it in the way I should have. I was telling myself I was prepping for it. Mentally, I was thinking about prepping for it, but I always had that in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be something that happened. Now, the mark for her body were, for the most part, there's always the possibility after of a late term miscarriage and things like that, but kind of the somewhat safe mark was 2.5 months. That was where first trimester is almost over, should pretty much be in the clear. The baby's a baby now, has a head, has arms, has legs, has all that. Now I know that can go deeper for some people, where for some people it's at conception, some people it's not. Whatever your outlook is, I'm just saying at that point it has a head, it has a body, it has a heartbeat, all that. So that 2.5 mark, that literally the day of the 2.5 month mark, we go to the OB and everything was fine. Everything was fine. So at that point I was like, oh, we're pretty much in the clear. We get home that night and there's some spotting, which we were both kind of writing off as, oh, maybe it's just spotting, it's a normal thing. And then
explain what spotting is.
Spotting, so essentially blood. Same thing like a woman would have with a regular period. There's blood. Spotting being very light amounts, just like a little tiny, like a drop or two, blood, things like that. So there's a little bit. We were both kind of writing it off. About an hour later, she goes to the bathroom again. There's more blood. So we start thinking about it, and we're going, okay, we're going to have to keep track of this just in case it keeps happening. Later, it gets worse. And then again, worse. I want to say it was around 8, 9 o'clock at night. She goes to the bathroom, and there's a lot of blood. She walks back into our room and goes, hey, we need to go to the hospital. And I already knew what you meant by that. What was happening previous with her going to the bathroom, she had just gone to the bathroom, her saying she needs to go to the hospital, there's blood, and it's a problem. So we go to the hospital. We take her in. She shows them her vax card, because at the hospital we went to, you had to be vaxxed to enter. I was not. So I had to sit in the car for 5 hours until they came to the conclusion of what it was. And then I get a call from her as she's crying and in pain that someone's going to walk me into the room. I hopped up out of my chair. I was walking up to the desk. In my head, that entire walk up, I knew what it was. If she was good, she would not have been crying in pain on the phone. The inflection in her voice would not have been what it was. I knew exactly what it was walking up to that security desk to have them walk me to the back. Now, in my head and the way I handle things, it takes me a while to actually really handle it. And until I actually heard it, there was always going to be that portion of denial. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. As much as I knew what it was, I didn't want to believe it, because that was my child. And it was my first child of my own blood. So I get to the back. Doctor comes in. To speak frankly, he's asking questions that, to me, didn't matter at all. He knew what it was. Almost like he was stalling for time. At least that's how it felt to me at the time. And after he asked the questions, he looks at both of us. I have her in my arm. I'm holding her hand because she's in pain. I'm trying to support her as best I can. And he goes, this is a miscarriage. And right when I heard it, I could almost feel like the soul leaving out of my body. I wasn't feeling anything at the time. I couldn't feel anything. I didn't know how to feel what I was experiencing at the moment. And she starts breaking down immediately. The doctor says, all right, I'm going to give you guys some time. Stay as long as you need. This is what's going to be happening over the course of this, over the next week or two, and just want you to watch out. He leaves the room, and she was actually apologizing to me. She tried apologizing to me. She's like, I'm sorry. It's my fault. It's my body's fault. And I just looked at her and I said, it's not your fault. We knew this was a possibility. Now, at this point, I'm still calm. It takes me a while to feel. So I was there for her the entire initial point of grieving that she had to do at that very beginning of it, and her initial feelings, and holding her until she kind of stopped crying. At that point, I did what I usually do, which is going to get into a little bit of a love thing, just because I mention this every time it happens. I'm sorry. And it's only because this is an important part of the story to me.
We understand.
So I take a step to, not a step, I take a kind of a scooch to the left because we're on a hospital bed. And I kind of just go down in my own hands. And that's when I started to feel it. That's when I was about to start crying, but something I think a lot of men have heard, men don't cry. I think everyone here has heard that at least probably once or twice in their life.
I know I have.
I'm trying to hold it back. I'm trying to hold it in. I'm trying to stay that rock that I was being before. And then I feel the bed because I feel her scooching towards me, and she pulls me into her chest and tells me, it's okay. Let it out. It's okay. And I broke down. I broke down in a way I haven't ever. And I broke down a few times that night. And for the next week or two.
We're still getting everything
I
set
told
up.
you those flies were a problem. I broke down a few times over the next few weeks. I went into a very dark place. And because I went to something that I never did. I was drinking heavily for the next month, 2 months.
Before we get too far into that spot, when she pulled you in and just told you let it out and all that, mentally, were you prepared for that?
No, not at all. I could never be prepared for that because no one's ever done that. That's where I usually go. I was trying to, kind of stay more on the miscarriage topic, but what I usually say when I talk about that part of the story is that's what let me know I am never leaving this woman.
Yeah.
I am going to do anything in my power to be with this woman and give her the life she deserves and be there because she showed me, look, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
In a way that nobody else has ever been there for me. No one else in my life has ever seen me upset and forced me to feel. I say force, that's usually used in a bad way of force, but this is a way of forcing me to understand that I can cry.
Yeah, letting you know it's okay to
feel.
cry.
Well, yeah, this is a woman that's telling you, I love you, and I want you mentally to also be okay.
Yeah, and
But
I think miscarriage can do one of two things to a couple. I think it can either break them apart or pull them closer together.
Yeah, mine was break us apart. But
yeah, mine pulled us, I think, at least a little bit closer together.
Yeah. When, even right now when you are talking about it, you can see your eyes are getting watery.
Yeah.
And of course, as
I just want to give you a hug.
There's just
Come
in
here.
it. Come on.
Oh God, I'm
This is weird.
We could have made it a group hug, but he didn't want to be a part of it. I don't
I
know.
didn't. No, but honestly, because again, the next day, you called us. We were both there for you.
Yeah.
We knew.
Yeah.
And again, we can go back into it, you drinking, all that stuff, but I want to go more into everything else that came with it, because again, this is.
Oh, I wasn't going to go too deep into the drinking thing. I was just going to go into how it affected me after.
No, yeah, but I want to go more on when it was happening. Because again, the recovery is going to be after, but I want to know how you were feeling through it. Because again, you were saying you had to be the rock, and of course you were, because you were with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is.
I had to be there for her so she could feel.
And
what she
again,
needed to.
that's not you doing it because the world has told you that's what you need. That's more of you going, no, I want to be that rock for her. She's my rock. I want to be her rock as well. And, we see that. But even with you being the rock, when, as you said, you're walking up, and it was probably the slowest walk up to your life to a room you've ever been in.
I actually left a part out, which actually really hurt, was when I walked up to that security desk and I said, hey, I just got a call from my girlfriend. She's in the back. I was told I'm going to be walked to the front. He was like, do you have your Vax card? And I was like, I was told it didn't matter. I'm going to be walked to the back. And he's like, I can't let you in. I had to walk away from that desk and sit on a bench just around the corner thinking, wow, they said they were going to walk me back and they're not. I'm not going to be able to be in there for this news. I'm not going to be able to be in there to help her.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I did eventually get let in when the security guard got scolded, and then he walked back
reprimanded for.
There was a good 2, 3, 4 minutes. I don't know how long it was. It felt like forever.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I can't be there for my own child.
In a time like that, time just goes so slow.
Oh.
It feels like it's not moving fast enough.
It felt like nothing was moving. It almost felt like a scene in a movie where someone's looking around and that bird's flying 1 mile an hour and you're seeing the wing flap, you know? That's how it felt. It felt like time stood still. And it was very hard. It's a very hard thing to deal with. It's maybe, I think it'll hurt no matter what, no matter how many times it happens. But especially, I feel like I haven't dealt with this on multiple occasions. I've only dealt with it once. But there's so much of a pain in losing your child. That was my child. That was my own flesh and blood. That was something of me. I didn't have a great family. I had a split family, one great, one not so much, and what I've always wanted is to have that happy family. And that was not to say us already having her son, my son, and her and me wasn't already having a family, but this was kind of almost like a form of completion to it, if that makes sense. Now I have
another chapter in your story.
Yeah, it's another chapter to that family, and it felt like that story came to an end.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I have my story of my family coming to an end at my age?
Yeah.
How? There's no way. I lost my child.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to feel? What is this feeling? It's a feeling I've never had before. I've been sad. I've been depressed.
Yeah.
This was another thing.
Yeah. Well, even with that, when you got the news, you said you were trying to be more of a rock for her.
Well, when we got the news, I wasn't feeling anything yet.
No,
like I said, my soul left my body.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to feel.
But
so I was able to be there for her completely.
Yeah. But after is when she pulled you in and said, let it out, and you finally did.
Yeah. That's when I was finally able to feel what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Whether I knew what it was or not. That's when I was able to let it all out.
Do you think mentally, because she was more prepared, I guess would be the best thing, because she's known about it for all this time, that it didn't hit her as hard as it hit you?
This is something her and I actually talked about.
Yeah.
This is where I was going when I was leading into the can break apart or pull together. Initially, it pulled together, but there was a lack of communication on what we each needed to deal with it. What I found out later when we actually had a legitimate talk about it was 50% of her was connected to that baby. And there was another 50% of her that wasn't, because she'd had that time to deal with it and that time to think about it and know that it was a possibility. So for her, she didn't even know how she was feeling. She was lost in her own world because she's like, half of her kind of didn't care. She knew it was a possibility. She didn't let half of herself get connected at all. Which I was like, how do you even have that occur? I understand now, going into my current situation. Which I can go into if we want to. And the other half of her was feeling what I was feeling. So I was feeling it completely, and she was half and half. So for her, she didn't really know how to support me, because only half of herself cared as much as I did. The other half knew this was a possibility and had the time to really actually prepare for it. I didn't. I had 2.5 months to prepare for this possibility. Because originally, we didn't think she could get pregnant. And then when she did, we were like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And being that the last time she was pregnant, she had her child, I'm kind of going into it with, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Like she's done it once, now we're clear.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
As much as they told... I feel like a doctor can tell you something's always a risk. But when you go through your life and there's something that's always a risk and it always kind of gets solved, you don't really think about it as being a real thing. Because it's like, especially nowadays, I kind of went into it, they got precautions. They got ways to stop it from happening, you know. And it ended up happening. And something I've had to deal with and something I'm currently dealing with. Being in my current situation of her being pregnant. And now I kind of understand where she's coming from, where with the first one, she was like 50%. I wouldn't say I'm 50-50.
Yeah.
I'd say
but
it's like...
Now you have more time to prepare.
Yeah.
Now you have more time to
I was going to ask, do you feel more
happen.
prepared now just in case that
Very much
situation
so.
happens again?
Well, but before this past
Hopefully it
Monday,
doesn't, just in case.
before this past Monday, yes, completely. There was an entire part of myself that was like, I'm not being connected the way I was last time, because I know if this is a possibility, I don't want to get as destroyed as I was. There's another part of me that is hardcore connected as I was. But this past Monday, we had our first appointment with the OB and found out she's almost 3 months, which is way farther than we thought, which is technically we're already past the clear point. So now it's and I've seen a sonogram. I've seen the baby's head. I've seen the leg. I've seen the arm. It's very hard not to be entirely connected now.
It's hard when it's an actual being that you can be like, I made you. You are part of me in every way.
I've seen you now. How do I not be connected? With the last one, we hadn't had a sonogram.
Again, I want to say he made them because, like, we just do one small thing to actually make a baby.
True. Yeah, all I'm saying is I'm not the first boyfriend in her life and never got pregnant before. All of a sudden, apparently, I'm fertile as hell.
Well, then again, you did play the game of let's never pull out.
That's a good point. I'm not going to deny that, but that's where I went. That's why I stated previously we weren't trying, but we weren't not trying.
No, yeah, exactly. But now, as we said, pregnant again, all that.
Congratulations, by the way.
All that.
Thank you.
I'm not saying I've said it already. I'm just kidding.
I haven't,
but,
so I'm saying it now in front of however many people listen to this.
But again, mentally, through all of it, how hard does that first one hit you?
Oh, it hit so hard. That's why I didn't know how to handle it. I was crying. I didn't know how to get those feelings out because it's a feeling I've never had. I didn't know how to cope with it. Yeah. There were times where I couldn't sleep. There were times where I went hours without sleep. There were times where I went days without sleep. And there were times when I cried myself to sleep.
Because, again, we're all mentally unstable. And
that's putting it lightly.
It is. Yeah. But, it's again, like that next day, we can crack jokes with each other.
Yeah.
We can say stuff. And I'm not saying anything that we've said. But we can say the jokes. We can make the jokes. We can talk how we talk to each other because this is our friendship.
Yeah, you guys don't even want to know the jokes we were saying that.
No, but again, does that help having friends that do that with you instead of always having like the I'm sorry that happened and I'm here for you the whole time? Like
I didn't want sorries.
Yeah.
Because sorry doesn't change anything, and for the entirety of it, anybody saying sorry, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
What are you sorry about?
But even with that, how about the people that went to you and like, oh, I can relate. Let me tell you my story about it and all that. Does that mentally help you to a certain extent, or does that kind of just make you?
I think it depended on the person, because I think I had a couple people who came at it from that sympathetic standpoint of, oh, I know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And then they just went into their own story, which wasn't exactly helpful. And then there were people who were coming in and they were going, hey, I've been through it too. I know what you're feeling. What can I do to help you? So I'm not going to tell you my story. You don't need to know my story. But you can know that I do relate to what you're feeling. I have been through this before. What can I do to help you? Even if it's just sitting here and talking, just bullshitting.
So again, I've been through it.
Like how he did.
Yeah, I was like, I'm more logical on it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my emotion going like, hey, I've been through it. Let me tell you now, because now that emotion rise back up, and because you went through it, now I'm remembering mine. Yada, like I'm just not that person. Logically, I was looking at it going, I've been through it. I, to a certain extent, can understand how you feel.
Yeah.
So what's up?
Exactly. You came in and I think you pretty much said, hey, I know what you're feeling. I got you.
Yeah, the first thing I did, I saw you the next day, went in, gave you a hug for about 30 seconds. You cried a little bit.
Forced me to give you a hug, by the way.
I did.
I tried to give you a short one and you were like, no. And
I held you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was like, And then we started cracking jokes.
Yeah, because it's how we deal with shit.
Yeah.
Because we're mentally unstable.
Yeah. But
which was something I needed.
But that was the recovery process of it. Because, again.
Yeah, everybody copes in their own way.
Yeah, mine was the same as you. I didn't want somebody going like, oh, I'm sorry you went through that. Let me tell you my story. Honestly, at that point, I didn't care about that story. I didn't care about their story. The only thing I cared about was the kid I no longer have.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just, okay, well, yeah, nice to hear about yours as well. Like, what do you want me to say? Like,
I'm the one feeling this right now. You've been through it already.
Yeah.
You did some of your grieving. Maybe you're not fully through it, but right now I'm the one in the heat.
Yeah.
I'm the one who just had this happen. I'm the one that needs the help. I understand you might need help with yours as well, but right now is not the time.
Yeah.
Well,
right now I don't have the emotional capability to help you with yours.
Yeah.
I need you to help me with mine, And then maybe later down the road, we can talk about both of our shared experience.
Yeah. I was going to say that maybe that was their way of trying to open up a little bit to try and relieve themselves of some of their stress, but it's the wrong time to do it.
I think it's also the reason people do that. I think there are some people who are just looking for their own attention, and I think there are also the certain people who are doing it to basically say, hey, this was my experience, just so you know how much I actually can relate. This is something I share with you, and I can help you because I've been through this whole thing, and now you know because I told you the story. It's just telling me the story doesn't help me.
Yeah.
You just saying you can relate is enough. Because I will trust you. I don't think anyone's going to lie, especially about this topic. No one's going to say, oh, yeah, I had a miscarriage too.
Yeah, and then go home and be like, he believed me. Like,
and,
no,
if,
yeah.
and even if you do,
Internet
I'm going to
clout.
know by the way you talk whether you're faking it or not. I don't think anyone has the balls to do that.
It's one of those things, like, it's hard for some people to help because they just really don't know how.
Yeah.
And it's like, my problem with stuff like this is just when something bad like that happens is everyone just wants to say sorry and bring up theirs. And like, for me, those type of people, it's, hey, don't forget about me during this hard time. Like, hey, I'm still here. And it's just like, dude, I get you want the attention, but I didn't ask for this to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't ask for a kid not to be born. We didn't ask for a miscarriage to happen. And then go, hey, we want all the remorse back. We want all this. We want everyone to be part of it. No, we're just going, hey, this is what happened. I just need somebody to listen and just tell me that they love me sometimes.
And it's not even like a thing of like, oh, you don't need the attention right now. I do. That's not what it is. It's just I'm the one going through something. And if you're going to come up to me and talk to me about it in an effort to help, that's not the way you're going to help.
Yeah.
At least to me, at least to you, I assume to you as well. Some people, maybe that is a helpful way for them, is having that person come up and tell them their story. Maybe that's a way for someone to get their mind off their own, understand that maybe some people do need that.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to try to help someone with something like this, you have to know the person. Someone random isn't going to be able to help me with this. It's got to be someone you know. And I think if you know the person and you know them well enough, you're not going to go into them and just like he did, would just come in saying, hey, I've been there. I got you.
Yeah. I think the best thing to do in that situation would be to, if that situation did happen to you, to relate to a point, but listen. Listen to the person who had that happen to them. Like when I went to see you, I went in and I was like, do you want to talk about it? Like, it hasn't happened to me, but I'm more than happy to listen to you to help you get some stuff off your chest.
If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what you did. You came in, I told you. I think you actually called him immediately and said, hey, you said, hey, you want me to call him? And you're like, I'm calling him. So you called him, he came in, and I think what you had told me exactly was, I haven't been through it, but I'm here if you need me. And I was like,
and I always will be.
And I said, I do. Just listen. And you did. You listened, he listened, and then we did what we know was the best way for us to handle our feelings, which is crack jokes with each other about it, whether they were dark as hell or not. That's how we, at least us three, that's how we handle it.
Yeah, because we're dark people. Like, that's how we cope. That's how we get through things. We crack jokes on 99% of the situations just because that's our way to recover.
Yeah, it's not that it's just that like, we're dark. It's just we understand it's a joke. We understand there's things not to joke about, but we understand there's things are. But we understand to each other that when it's a joke, we just purely see it as a joke. It's not like I'm going to look at you and go, hey, you're fat. And then just stare at you and tell you need to stop eating as much. And like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You're my friend. I am going to go to you and be like, hey, I care about you. I want you to lose some weight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to be like, you don't need that burger, and slap it out of your hand sometimes. And then give you another one and be like, I'm just kidding.
No, you would, knowing you would slap the burger out of my hand and take me to a place with good food.
Probably.
Yeah, that'd be a thing.
Like blackened chicken Alfredo good.
Yeah, something. But it's just stuff like that. So like we can joke with each other on almost anything and be able to see it eye to eye and joke to joke and then be able to go through it. Like a lot of people, like we said, they go through something this dark, they don't know how to get through it. They don't know how to recover. They don't know what theirs is. It might be therapy. It might be talking to a friend. It might be talking to family. It might just be holding their animal. Like, we don't know. To us, the best way is be alone for a second sometimes, be with our friends sometimes, crack jokes sometimes, because that is our therapy. That is our recovery.
Being the person who goes to therapy to this day that does help me with a lot of things. Therapy actually wasn't something that helped me with this. Therapy could not help me with this because it's me talking and trying them understanding and kind of relaying to me why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and stuff like that. I already kind of knew everything she was telling me. What I needed was a conversation with friends like I had with you guys and the cracking jokes part, and I needed the communication with my partner who was also dealing with it. Just at that beginning stage before we had our, I want to say it was like 3 weeks-ish. That first 3 weeks, we weren't really communicating. Our communication had gone down, but our attention to each other had gone up, if that makes sense. We weren't talking about things that... We weren't talking about the miscarriage, which is what I needed to talk about, but I didn't want to say, hey, again, this is me trying to be the rock for her. Yeah. I'm seeing her keeping her cool, and I want to make sure that she's able to do what she needs to do. So I was trying to be the rock for her, and what it turned out to be is she was trying to be the rock for me. So we were both out of miscommunication until we finally had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And therapy didn't give me that. But talking to friends and then being there for me and talking to her eventually, that helped.
I remember through it was about 3 weeks and then that's where you were just like, I don't know what we're doing because we both, we sleep, all that. You do everything the same as you were, a little bit closer, and then you were just like, but there's still something off.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, like, just talk. Like, you literally just need to talk. That's it.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things that for different people, different recovery processes. For her, it might have been easier for her to talk with friends, whatever it was, but it wasn't at the end.
It actually took me breaking down in a parking lot to another friend when she was with me and her seeing that to get in the car and having this conversation.
Yep. And we were messaging that whole time.
Yeah.
Until the conversation started. I'm not saying join their conversation. I'm saying up till that point where you were talking.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was very hard for you because it was just, you weren't sure what to do. And there was something, again, that you go to her and you're like, do I just bring it up? Do I just go to her and go like, hey, we lost a kid. Let's talk. Or is it too soon? Or is it too, like, you were just...
Yeah, I was
your
so
brain
consumed.
was wired everywhere.
I was so consumed with trying to make sure she was okay that I was almost not ignoring the fact that I needed to be okay, but not doing exactly what I needed because I didn't want... If she didn't want to talk about it, I didn't want to make her talk about it, whether I needed it or not. Because I did have somewhat of an outlet with you guys. Yeah. So I was like, if she doesn't want to talk about it, I can talk about it with them. But what I was ignoring was the fact that I needed to talk about it with her too. Whether she wanted to or not, that's what I needed. And I should have had the inkling from the day it happened that she would talk to me about it if that's what I needed. But it's the guy thing, be the rock. Be the rock. You got to be strong, and it's something we all got to deal with and figure out throughout life. Is when do we need to be the rock and when do we need to open up?
Sorry. Wrong
Don't
rock.
say that. We'll get copyright infringement. I think that's what it is.
What a line he probably has, though. Don't worry, baby. I'm your rock. Just come on.
Yeah, that's not even fair.
I guarantee, though, his chick is probably looking at him every time he's ever said that and just been like, ugh. Just walked away.
Just roll the eyes and just like, oh, God.
I'd leave.
Dad joke.
Pretty much.
I want the rock.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
She deals with them every day.
But
true.
She gets Dwayne.
Again, you don't really have a story on it.
No.
You were there, same as I was for him. So you saw how it went. Do you have anything for miscarriage or abortion from friends, family, anything besides him?
I do. I actually do.
Okay.
This happened back in high school.
Okay.
If I said the name of the girl, you guys would know, or you would know who she is, but I'm not.
But we're not going to, or you can, and we can edit it out.
Give it a good
or
bleep.
I can just write it down and then.
Oh, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, or I'll tell you after.
All right.
Anyway,
we'll do that. We'll do that.
She had come up to me because her boyfriend at the time, they weren't in a very good spot, and she was terrified. But she came up to me. I think it was during lunch, one of the lunch periods. And she, since I had a car at that time, she asked me if I can do her a favor, and I said, sure. She wanted me to take her to GNC. The, what is it?
Isn't that usually for, like, sports medicine?
It's
like
for...
protein powder?
Yeah, it's one of the medicine shops.
That sounds like GNC. I was picking up the
Yeah.
Rock's energy drink.
Well, what she wanted to do when I asked her why she wanted to go to GNC, she wanted to get citrus pills, I believe, because she read online that citrus pills can help cause a miscarriage because she was pregnant, but she didn't want the kid.
So she was trying to cause one.
Yes. She was trying to cause a miscarriage because, one, she didn't want to go... She couldn't afford the Plan B pill because it had already been too late and high school money. Two, she didn't want to go to her parents because they're pretty strict on her. And three, she was terrified of going to the doctor because they would tell her parents because she was technically a minor.
So she was trying to just give herself an abortion at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Short of punching herself in the stomach, she wanted to try and find a way to end it. So when we were driving over there, I asked her, and she told me all that, and I was like, oh, God. It was the first time I've ever had that situation happen. So I felt sort of responsible at that time because I didn't know how else to feel. So eventually we got over there, and I had banked up a little bit of my allowance, and I helped her buy the pills because I didn't want her to have added stress of not being able to eat lunch. So we bought the pills, and she ended up taking nearly the whole bottle. And after that, she rarely talked to me and just kind of left it at that. I wasn't able to see how she was doing because she always avoided me because I now had that connected to me. I helped
What
her.
was that? And she was probably feeling judged by you as well without...
Even though I don't.
No,
do
I know,
that,
but again, this is from her
Yeah.
standpoint. It's probably her going like, hey, can you do this because this is what happened. You did, and now she's going, oh, he's going to look at me different now because of whatever it is. But again, her body,
Never.
her choice.
Yeah. If she didn't want it, then who am I to say, no, you're pregnant, you have to keep it now?
Yeah.
She was, I think we were like 14, 15 at the time. Or she was 14 or 15. I was 16.
Let me ask you something. You said earlier that you felt somewhat responsible on the bringing her there and getting the citrus pills and doing all that. Well, two questions. I'm assuming they worked.
That's what I'm assuming as well, because like I said, she basically stopped talking to me after that.
I mean, I'm assuming you never saw her belly get bigger.
She avoided me, so I didn't even see her.
Oh, okay. So she avoided you heavily. So
Yeah.
If it did work, do you feel
Ghosted.
responsible for it happening? Do you have any level of guilt or anything like that? Or did you just feel responsible for helping her?
I felt responsible for helping her. I didn't
Okay.
feel like I...
You didn't feel responsible for the child. You felt responsible to help her and be there
Yes.
for her.
Because that's the type of person I am. I will go out of my way to help anybody that I see who's close to me.
I just
Like-
wanted to clarify what you meant by feeling responsible.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But going back to it, it was a weird thing because she was part of our friend group for the longest time. And the fact that she told me that they were having like trouble and she didn't feel safe enough to go to him to do it kind of made me go, if you don't feel safe enough going to him with this, why are you with him? But that's a whole nother thing.
He was trying to steal your girl. No, I'm just kidding.
It's high school, dog. It's high school.
I
They're
ended
never
up
gonna
stealing her. No.
Well, didn't you say she ghosted you?
She did.
I
She
think you're
did.
serious there for a second.
Fully.
Before ghosting was a thing.
Yeah. But that's the limit of what I have related to that.
We found patient zero of ghosting, boys.
Sorry.
So we've gone into him. We've gone into me.
Yeah.
Let's go into you.
That sounds weird.
Yeah,
I
was
know,
about
it does
to
sound a
say,
little weird.
Can we change how we said
Let's
that?
go into
No,
you,
we're not.
Chris.
Get your
editing
hand
that
off
out.
me.
That's not being edited. We're going into you, baby.
Oh, okay.
Let's hear your story.
For which one?
However you felt, wherever you feel like leading. Let's start with the first if you've had multiple.
Well, mine is I can do friends or I can do my relationship.
I'd say yours. I think being
Yeah.
that this is on miscarriage, we should talk about yours.
Well, it's miscarriage and abortion. Again, it's
Yeah.
both.
So you can go into both stories.
I'll go into both. Mine was just, I was, again, ex-girlfriend. Found out she was pregnant. It was the same as yours, basically. She told me when she got pregnant, hey, I have a very high chance of having a miscarriage because of whatever it is. I'm a guy. I don't have all that stuff. So I was just like, okay. Like, I kind of just waved it off. I kind of just looked at it like, okay, yeah, that's possible, but wouldn't happen to me. Same
Yeah, same thing I
same
said.
as how you are. You're like, yeah, but I'm me.
Bum-ba-da-dum.
Look how great I am, isn't it?
Yeah, then it happened.
Loves
And then,
me.
Yeah, then I was just like, oh yeah, no, I suck.
I
No, yeah,
deserve
it
it.
was,
Fuck.
it was literally like, got home from work, turned on the TV, made dinner, was eating. She was like, oh, I need to go to the restroom. Came out and was literally like, so I'm not pregnant anymore. And I was froze. I was just like, what? Like, what does that mean? She was just like, yeah. You go look in the toilet. And I was just like, I'm not. No. Like, no. Nah.
I don't need to see that.
No, it wasn't even that. It wasn't me saying, like, no, I don't want to see it. It was more of me not believing. It was just like, no, there's no way. Like, you're seeing something. Like, it's something else, whatever it is. It's same, like, kind of thinking just like, oh, it was a heavy flow. It was this, it was that, whatever it was. But, no, yeah, I went into the restroom, and sure enough, yeah, I did not have a kid anymore. And I was just like, okay. Like, I don't know what to do now. And it was probably within a month, 2 months maybe. Broke up. Like, as soon as that happened, we went opposite ways. Like, there was no, like, let me be there for you, let me be there for you. It wasn't hatred. It was none of that. It was just I was more just confused because I was just like, I don't know what just happened. And then for her, I don't know. I never asked. We never mentally talked about it, logically talked about it, like emotionally talked. We never talked. It was literally come home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, see her when I got home, eat dinner, go to sleep. It was just the same routine. And it just finally went home and it was just, hey, we're done. All right. Let me get my stuff. I guess we're done. And there was no questions, no nothing. Like, I just saw it and went, all right.
Knowing you, that tracks.
Yeah, no, it's just, again, logically speaking, I have to look at it that way. I'm not going to think with my heart. I'm going to think with my head. Like, that's just how it goes. And so with that, I'm just going, she knew it was a possibility. There was a possibility. It happened. I can't be mad. I can't be sad. There's nothing there. Like, it's just a possibility that can happen. And if it does, then it does. It's like, you know, if I don't have a pool, there's no possibility of me drowning in a pool.
I mean, you could go to a friend's pool.
Yeah, but now I'm around a pool. So that's how I saw it. It was just, there's no possibility of this happening and so it's just, no, there's a possibility it happened. There it is. The abortion one was sort of same as how you were feeling, because it was more of a friend calling me and going like, hey, this is what happened. But hers, it was kind of, again, I'm kind of a dick on this one. But
Shocker.
yeah, but it was, because again, it was more me speaking logically. And so
Yeah.
she wanted somebody emotional.
I just see Mikey
She just wanted
crying
somebody.
in the back row.
Well, no, she just wanted somebody there. Like, she wanted to go like, hey, this is what just happened. I need help. Like, I need somebody emotionally to tell me that everything's okay, that this guy is wrong, like all this stuff. And it was just, Chris, are you there? And I said yes. And it was, so I just got an abortion and my boyfriend just broke up with me. Okay. Well, you don't think that's wrong? And I was like, not really. And she was just like, wow, and got really mad. And I was just like, okay, I get, again, you just went through this. Like, they were together for, I don't even know, maybe a year. And then she got pregnant. Neither of them were financially or mentally ready to have a kid. So they went, paid for it. They left, and he literally dropped her off at her house and said, okay, we're done. And then he went home.
Do you know if they talked about it beforehand?
No, that's the whole story I got. So it's more like I can't judge anything because I don't know their story.
Yeah, you don't know
the whole story.
both sides
No.
of the full story.
And so I was just going, okay, like, if your relationship wasn't working out and then this happened, of course you guys are going to try to make it work because of what happened. But if you already had the outcome of we're going to abort the child, then I kind of already saw it as you already know you're going separate ways.
yeah.
Like, no healthy relationship just ends. That's how I see it. No healthy relationship does. So if you're calling me saying, hey, we just broke up, but it was right after we did this major thing, I'd go, yeah, no, that makes sense.
To me, that obviously means if you're gonna break up after an experience like this, it means your relationship either wasn't strong enough or you didn't have the things you need in a healthy relationship in order to keep it going.
Yeah. And then the other one that it kind of just came to my head right now was our senior retreat for our high school. We were there, and I hated it the whole time. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't want to be there. Like, I didn't want to be there. Had to go. Like, all this, just stupid. And so then on one of them, it was, hey, we're going to pair you up with somebody random. And again, I knew about everyone at my school for seniors at least. And it was just, we're going to pair you up with somebody random, and we want you to tell them a secret. Like, nobody knows it at all. It was some, I don't even know what it was supposed to help.
I would have made something up. I'm not telling anybody I don't know a secret.
That's what I did. Again, because I'm the same as you. I don't know you. I don't trust you. How am I?
Yeah.
And it was something about building trust. And I'm like, so put me with a friend. Like, help me build trust with a friend.
Really quickly, being that we just said that, the don't trust a stranger thing.
Yeah.
We are here for you, and you can trust us. I promise. Just saying.
Yeah.
I just want to clear that up.
Yeah.
These are just random thoughts we have as children. I just don't want anyone to misconstrue that as like they can't trust us kind of thing.
No, but I wasn't going
I know you don't mean that towards them. I'm just saying I want them to know they can trust us and that we can be there.
Okay, let me fix this real quick. This is when I was 18, just becoming a man, understanding who I was. So of course I'm not going to trust anybody because I'm still a kid. Now this is 10 years later. I have grown. I understand everything that happens in the world. I can trust people differently than how I did as a kid.
Look at him
Better?
Look at him so mad at clarification here.
Because you're bringing it up. Anyways.
It's clarifying.
So then I made up a story, and she was just like, wow, I don't even remember what I said. But then again, I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Like an alligator bit me. Just something crazy.
Yeah, just something. No, it wasn't even that. It was something like, I don't even know. It was something stupid. I know that, but it wasn't that. But then she came to me and she was like, okay, I had an abortion.
That's a big ass secret.
Yeah, and I literally didn't know what to do, and I just hugged her. And she started crying, and we were supposed to be together for like 10 minutes and talk, and she just cried for 10 minutes. And I just held her the whole time.
The next person that got her was like, what the fuck did this guy tell her?
No, but like after that, it's again, like I didn't trust like all that stuff, but it was literally right after that, I had her back. Like it was somebody I didn't even know, nothing. And it was just like straight off the bat. It was like, this is what happened. And I went, I am sorry. I'm here for you. And just let her hug me, and we just cried. That was it. But it was, graduation happens, walking around, see her, and I'm like, yeah, we did it. And it was just like that little, like, I'm really proud of you to her. And she could see it. And I was just like this, like, even though I didn't like that whole program, I liked that somebody was able to go to me and actually see me as who I was and go like, I can trust you with something really dark, like something really dug secret. But she was able to look at me and go like, no, you're somebody that can do this. Like, again, I'm not going to bring her name out. There's no way you'll ever find out who it was.
I find it interesting. I mean, she obviously didn't know this, but I like that you led that conversation with a lie, and she was like, I can trust this guy.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
It's just funny to me. But at the same time, it's like, at least she found some sort of outlet, and she did end up doing this with someone like you who can help, someone who can be there for her.
Mine is, I'm going to lie to you because I don't want your help. Like, that's what it was for her. But it was, if you lie to me, I will not help you. That's really what it is, though.
Yeah.
Like, Mikey, again, my butt. How long have we been friends? Like 15, if not more years.
Yeah, longer than we have been friends.
Yeah. Like, he understands. Like, there are times when somebody will come up to me, and I will just bullshit with you because I just really don't care. Like, not about them, just about what's happening. I care about them as a person. So it's more of, I will lie to you because I don't trust you fully, and I need to see what you do with that. Like, there are times that I'll tell 3 people in a group 3 different things, and I'll see which one of them comes to me and tells me what somebody else said. Like, I'll say, I had this for lunch. Hey, Mikey, I had this for lunch. Hey, Zach, I had this for lunch. And then all of a sudden you'll come to me and go, hey, did you have this for lunch? I'm going, okay, why did Zach tell you I had steak? Well, how do you know it was Zach? Because I told Zach I had steak. I told you I had a hamburger, and I told him I had chicken. I know I can't trust him because I just said that and you brought it up to you. Now you're asking me about it, so now I'm wondering why you're asking about my business. The only person I'm going to trust is Mikey because he's the only one that held on to it, and that's how I am. You tell me something, I'm going to go, hey, I'm taking this to my grave. I will tell people about the experience, but I'm not going to say who the experience was about. And so it's like all those things always connected with me. And so it was like the abortion, the miscarriage, all that stuff. Like it happened. Mentally, it screwed me up at first. And then over time, I understood what it was. Because emotionally, it screwed me up, but I don't go through emotion.
Mentally and emotionally, it messed me up. I was at the point where I was questioning the world. I was questioning if I deserved it.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Like, you kind of do look at it like, oh, it's not going to be me, and then it is, and you're like, I kind of figured it would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, why did I deserve this? What did I do? And then I was like, maybe it's my fault.
Yeah.
For some reason. I'm like,
but
no.
again, we're all different for it. We're all recover from it differently.
Yeah.
And so it's more of what helps me might not help you.
Exactly.
What helps you might not help me. I didn't know what I needed, honestly. You found out what you needed over time.
Luckily.
Mine, it's still like, I still don't talk about it with people. This would be the first time I brought it up. Mikey's never heard that. Like, there's plenty of people that have never heard that. But again, I didn't need somebody there, and I still don't. I still don't need somebody going like, Chris, I'm sorry that happened to you. Let me help you.
I think I'm the only one who knew about it previously.
Basically. Because it was more logically, I was just going, it could happen, it did happen.
And I think the only reason I know is because I had one, and over time, eventually, it came out to me.
And so it's just more mental recovery for me on that was just time.
Yeah. Time heals almost all wounds. I say almost.
Yeah, I was like, I'd say some. I'm not even going to say almost.
Yeah. But I think it's about time we get to the story of this.
We just told stories. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the AI-generated story.
Oh, the good story. Wait,
yeah.
I just said my story wasn't good. The better stories.
Well, let me do a little magic trick. All right.
You didn't say a magic word.
Alakablam.
That works.
A bad magic word.
Alaka, fuck you. How about that?
For
that
Harry
works.
Potter fans, Accio iPad.
True.
All right.
Chris got
As
that.
you know,
I think he's the only one.
As you know, we have an AI-generated storyteller. We do not own the rights. We just use this website.
If they feel like sponsoring
Thank you,
us,
by
we
the way.
love you.
Yeah. If you'd like to sponsor this program, reach out to me. Anyways, again, it goes based off the stories and everything we were talking about. So, again, we were talking about miscarriage, mostly miscarriage. Like, we talked about abortion, but it was mostly miscarriage. So, with this, since Justin talked the most, we're going to have him continue talking, and he's going to read this whole thing. Again, the first sentence was his. He will let you know where he ended and where the story takes over. We just ask you to listen, see what comes out of it, see what it makes you think about, all of the above. Let us know what you think. Justin, you can take it away.
So I went a little personal on my sentence. So what I had written is, the miscarriage took an already broken down man to the near edge of hell. And that's where I stopped. It spoke to me as something in regards to this topic. So that's where I started. So I'm going to read from the beginning. Just know I ended at hell. And then the story took it over from there. The miscarriage took an already broken down man to the near edge of hell, and he was unable to recover. His brain became a web of confusion that would not allow him to sleep for more than 4 hours at a time. So much so that his wife had to take over the household chores in order to keep their house going. He could barely walk, let alone hold a conversation with her or anyone else. His mind seemed to have been torn asunder by the pain of what he'd lost. It was like being buried alive inside one's own skin. Knowing that you're slowly suffocating, but there's still having no choice but to stay there. In those first few months after the loss, my father couldn't think about anything except where his baby girl was. And while all around us, others were beginning to move on with their lives, he remained trapped in a world of grief and despair. I watched as his mind drifted from place to place. We went to visit friends in another city, only to return home and find him sitting on our porch, staring into space and muttering to himself. He began losing interest in everything. His job, which he'd held for more than 20 years, his friends, even his family. The only thing that kept him going was work. He needed something concrete to get up in the morning and do. While other men were starting families, or just getting started, my father's life was over before it ever really began. My mother tried to help him through this ordeal, but she was trying to cope with her own grief too. She was also busy raising 2 young kids on her own. They fought constantly, and sometimes it felt like they hated each other. My father wasn't able to fully recover from the loss of his daughter, but my mother refused to give up hope and continued to try to make things right between them. But it didn't matter how hard she tried. Nothing seemed to be working. Her husband was suffering and she couldn't fix him. I thought he might finally snap, but then my father made me promise to never tell my mother about his secret. His depression grew worse until eventually he stopped talking altogether and withdrew completely from the rest of the world. We rarely saw him, and when we did, he seemed a shell of his former self. When we asked if everything was okay, he always said yes, but deep down I knew that it wasn't true. On an early autumn day in 1999, I came home to find my parents arguing. They weren't loud, but they were angry enough to leave me wondering what had happened. One look at their faces told me that whatever it was, it couldn't be good. I sat next to my father and told him that I loved him. My mother stood behind them, watching as tears trickled down her cheeks. And that's where our current story ends.
That was a hell of a ride.
Yeah. This one, I didn't expect to get almost personal to myself. When we read over it the first time, when we first wrote it up, but let the AI take over, I was reading it, and the first few paragraphs, until it gets to the dark parts of really sectioning off from your family and friends and work and all that, I had a lot of things that personally I could relate to. Being the biggest one was at the very beginning of the shell of himself. That thing, that's kind of how I felt at that time. I felt like a shell of myself. I felt like I was gone. And one of the other ones being what was it? The losing interest in almost everything. It was a very deep story that it went into.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with that, how would you have changed something in that story to try and get that father out of his stupor, out of the mindset that he was in at the time?
Are we going at this as I'm a friend of that father? I'm the child? Am I...
Let's say friend.
So let's say I'm a friend of him?
Yeah, because it seems like this story was written in the eyes of the child.
From what I'm reading here, if I was a friend of that dad, right? It sounds like this is where I would have gone if I didn't have the friends I have. If I didn't have you guys, I think this is where it would have eventually dragged me towards. So what I would have changed is I would have been that friend that you guys have been to me. I would have been that friend to go to him and force him to hug me. Show me that I can be listened to. Show me that someone cares. Whether they can relate to it or not, depending on what friend I am in this. I could be a single friend. I could be balling out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of friend I am. But I'd be that friend that he needed, because it sounds like he didn't have that in at least the story that was written.
And I think with that, we have that same message to you guys. We will be there. We will be your friend. We will be the ears that listen to you. Anytime you need it.
I will force you to hug me.
Yeah, virtually.
Well, depending on the location.
No. I will let them know where I will be, and they can come and hug me.
Yeah. We will do everything in our power to help you guys, no matter what you need. But I thank you for opening up and telling us.
Of course.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Through that story, where would your mindset be if you were the father?
If I was a father in the same situation without having a support system like you guys, because I know if I did go through something like that, you guys would be there immediately, knocking at my door, busting it down, trying to get me out of the house.
I'd break your window to see you have to focus on the broken window first.
Well, that's a bitch to clean.
I'll clean it and just say, now you got a broken window.
Jump through his window, but anyway.
There. But if I was in that situation without the support system, I would likely be in the same place, if not worse. More than likely, as soon as, like they said in the story, on an early autumn day in 1999, I would most likely, in that situation, be found somewhere. Just not even... It wouldn't be a search and rescue. It would be a recovery, a body recovery. Because knowing me and how screwed it is in here, yeah, I probably wouldn't be around.
And again, that's not an answer.
It's not a solution.
We are always here. He's right here. He's right there. I'm right here. We're always going to be there for you.
We all got our phones on us, so
But we will make sure.
I will turn my notifications on.
finally.
But again, thank you. We know it was a dark episode, but we need to shed light on the darkness. So, thank you for being here. I think that's about all the time we got.
I think it is for this episode.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Have a good night.